My name is Tina, and I'm 30, born into a family where we had good fortune. My grandfather was wealthy. We could afford whatsoever we wanted. But I never wanted to be the girl with a trust fund. I wanted to build something of my own, earn my name, and be so successful it wouldn't matter where I started. When I was 20, I worked in my grandfather's farm. That's when Greg slipped into my life, an ambitious young man with a hungry smile and a plan for everything. We met at a coffee shop. I was just entering the shop when the door slammed open. It was Greg. His eyes was fixed on mine. He stretched his hand. "I am Gerg." "And you are?" he asked. First time he spoke to me, he sounded like tomorrow. The first time he mentioned Tina, he sounded like a man with intent. Greg and I went for a private launch in Mayfair. He wasn't on the guest list. He was working the room. Eyes alert, handshake sure, pitch perfect. He noticed details people miss. My unbranded watch, the faint scar on my left wrist, the way I asked questions that sounded like investments. He told me about his startup dream, a consolidation of boutique services for high-net-worth clients, lean and smart, the kind of machine London loves. "I just need the right partner," he said, eyes on me, sincere as prayer. "Someone who sees the whole chessboard." He laughed at my jokes. He respected my ideas. He called me brilliant in rooms where men hesitate to use that word. But Greg's world already had an orbiting star, Jane. She was older, approaching 40, wealthy, elegant. She had a stepmom who kept reminding her that time was running out. "You need to get married," she would always say. Her younger sister was married, with 2 kids, and the family pressure fell on Jane like winter. Greg said he felt sorry for her. Said she was kind, but guarded. Said she needed stability and love. I like Greg. I feel he likes me too. But Greg was up to something. We started working together. I wanted to be part of his vision. The boutique services. He married her. Greg married Jane. He told me it was strategic. 2 lonely people in a city that doesn't forgive loneliness. He said Jane wanted a home, and he wanted a chance. "I'll build it for both of us," he told her. "You'll never regret this." I told myself we were colleagues, that I was only advising him, that I was bigger than gossip. I had grown up rich, but I wanted merit, not mess. And yet, Greg had a way of making you want to be on his side. He made me feel like we were building a future that didn't yet have a name. I became his assistant in title, but in practice I was his operator. I opened doors, drafted proposals, ran discreet transfers. He said Jane was too careful, too slow, too worried. He'd shake his head, kiss her forehead, and whisper the same line. "Trust me." I learned the rhythms of his lies before I recognized them as lies. The late phone calls. The doctor's number saved under a fake name. The way he spoke about their baby, half tenderness, half calculation. There were nights when he would look at me and say, "We're almost there, Tina." I asked, "Almost where?" He would smile and say, "To the life we deserve." I wanted to believe him so badly that I let disbelief feel like disloyalty. Greg and Jane had a son. For a little while, it seemed to soften him. He'd hold the boy and talk about legacy, about future schools, about our tribe. But I noticed something else. Jane's glow made him restless. The more motherhood suited her, the more he seemed to resent it. One day I overheard a call, Greg speaking to a doctor in a private Harley Street clinic. His tone was careful, coded. After he hung up, he said the hospital wanted some pre-surgery paperwork. I asked, "Surgery for what?" He said, "It's complicated." His eyes didn't meet mine. Later, the doctor called me by mistake. I heard the words consent form, complications, and future fertility. My stomach turned to stone. Greg wanted Jane's womb removed. A life sentence for a woman whose only crime was loving him. When I confronted him, he pulled me close and said, "Tina, listen. Jane is unstable. She talks about cheating, she's paranoid. I'm protecting myself, protecting us. If something goes wrong, I need the doctor on side. That's all." He had begun to accuse Jane of infidelity, planting seeds of doubt so he could harvest convenience. I told myself I didn't have the full picture. I told myself he must love her, because who doesn't love the mother of his child? But there was a plan inside the plan, and it was worse than I feared. There was an accident. It rained the day their car skidded. London rain is ordinary. That day, it felt like intent. The police called it an accident. The city shrugged and moved on. Their little boy didn't survive, he died. Grief is a clean blade in some homes. In Greg's hands, it was a tool. He told me, "This is our window. Jane will be in hospital and sedated. Pack the bags. Book the flights. We go far away. New names. New start." "Jane?" I asked. "She'll be taken care of," he said. And then softer. "You and I are inevitable, Tina." I didn't sleep that night. I wrote a list titled Right versus Real. Right, call the police. Right, tell Jane's family. Right, leave Greg. Real, I was already in too deep. Jane's stepmom came to the house without warning. She had never liked Greg. People said it was jealousy, control. But when she stepped into the living room that afternoon, she wasn't a jealous woman. She was a witness. She saw the packed suitcases. She saw the cash in an envelope. She saw me, and the look she gave me hit harder than any slap, you know? She moved toward the hallway, toward Jane's room. Greg caught her arm. Words rose like claws. And then, in a blur I can never forgive, he struck her. She crumpled. The sound of her body on the floor was louder than his gasp. For a second, I thought she was dead. "Help me," Greg hissed. "We haven't got time." He made me drag the suitcases. He made me wipe the banister. He made me feel like a co-conspirator, because by then, that is what I was. I had started recording Greg's calls. Some part of me, the part that still believed in courtrooms and consequences, needed proof. That's how I heard him say he could fix the clinic, that he had a plan to make sure Jane never had another child, that he would deny everything and call her unfaithful if needed. I heard myself breathing in those recordings, quiet, complicit. And yet I didn't run. Not yet, because manipulation is a slow hypnosis, and I was still asleep. We in the airport, Heathrow. Terminal 5. We moved like ghosts, sunglasses indoors, hood raised, the smell of coffee and disinfectant. Greg kept his hand light on the small of my back, the choreography of ownership. He whispered our script. "If anything happens, you say the bags are yours. You don't know me. You were coerced." "Coerced by whom?" I asked. He smiled. "By the devil you know." We passed security. An officer waved us aside. Inside my chest, a clock called judgment started ticking. A second officer approached with a firm politeness that belongs to British airports and funerals. "Ma'am, sir, random screening." Our bags open like mouths keeping secrets. The officer's face changed. He looked at me, then at Greg. Another officer stepped in. Then the words no one wants, everyone fears. "You're under arrest." Drugs. Hidden. Not clever, obvious. My brain spun uselessly until a single fact landed. Jane had planted them. She had listened to his calls, gathered herself through grief and pain, and played a card we never saw. She couldn't file for divorce earlier. She had been unsure, healing, waiting. But she had enough time to do this. I stood there with my hands shaking, and for the first time, I felt something like relief. They separated us. That's when Greg's mask didn't just slip. It shattered. "She did it," he told them. "The drugs are hers. I hardly know her. She's obsessed with me. I tried to help. She framed me. She framed my wife." "Wife?" He said the word like a shield. Jane as his alibi, as his innocence, as his cover. The same Jane he had plotted to destroy. He turned me into a stranger in a sentence. He painted me mad, cruel, dangerous. He used our shared past like rope, not to pull me up, but to hang me. That was the clear betrayal. Not the cheating, not the schemes, not the airport. It was the moment he erased me, reduced me to a nuisance he could discard to save himself. Greg didn't just betray me. He betrayed every promise he ever made. He betrayed Jane, their child's memory, and the part of me that still believed he. We were held. Lawyers were called. The newspapers smelled blood, but didn't yet have a name for it. Evidence began to surface, recordings I handed over, transfers I documented, texts that read like confession. I gave them everything. the Harley Street calls, the plan to hospitalize Jane after the staged accident, the way he rehearsed the cheating accusation, the cash movements, the closed loop of greed and control. They asked why I stayed. The answer is not noble. Manipulation isn't a storm. It is weather. It changes you slowly, makes you dress for it, makes you call it normal. I had called it love. I had called it purpose. I had called it destiny. In the days that followed, I heard about Jane's recovery, how she had returned to her family, how her stepmom healed with a stubborn grace you only see in women who refuse to be beaten by history. I heard, too, the part that will never stop hurting. Jane could no longer have children. That price, exacted by Greg's plan, will echo in rooms I will never enter. If guilt could be stacked, mine would be a tower. I grew up rich. I wanted success with my name carved on it. I thought Greg saw me, the builder, the strategist, the woman who doesn't need a last name to be someone. He saw me, yes, but as an instrument. He tuned me to his key: admiration, defense, silence. He had a note for every suspicion, a reason for every lateness, a story for every bruise the truth left on my conscience. He made me useful to harm. That is the worst kind of usefulness. In the end, there was no empire. There was no us. There was only a recording that sounded like a woman waking up. What does a person do after a story like this? Some hire a publicist. Some flee. I chose something that didn't fit my upbringing. I chose to tell the truth. To the officers. To my solicitor. To myself. I sent a letter, no return address, to Jane. Not to ask forgiveness. Forgiveness is not a bill you can send. I wrote what needed saying. You were not paranoid. You were not unfaithful. You were endangered. I played a part in the danger, and I will live with that truth. I don't know if she ever read it, but I know this. I left the police station one evening as the sky over London went the color of wet slate, and for the first time in a long time, I said a prayer that didn't sound like a negotiation. If you are listening to this, remember what manipulation looks like. It wears charm like a suit. It calls control by softer names. It isolates you not by locking doors, but by closing options. And remember the lesson I learned at a cost I cannot count. You can only truly trust God. People, no matter how persuasive, how brilliant, how beautiful, will fail you. Ambition without conscience will use you. Love without truth will erase you. But God's faithfulness does not bend to clever lies or careful plans. He is the one anchor that doesn't pull away when the storm comes. My name is Tina. Once, I wanted to be very successful. Now, I want to be true. If success comes, let it meet me there, standing in the light, unarmed, unafraid, held by the only trust that lasts. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like, share, and comment below. You can share your thoughts. Thank you.